or they call me Mr. Second Place. Well, I accidentally stumbled into 96 NASCAR wins and in the top three series. So I may be Mr. Second Place. I understand that, but I accidentally screwed up and won 96 of them.
It's the Kenny Wallace Conversation, brought to you by JEGS.
I mean this with love. I'm not picking on you. Do you ever think that you're too hard on yourself?
Yeah, I'm way too hard on myself, and it's a curse, but it is who
From your
I
mom or
am.
dad?
I have learned to embrace who I am.
Good.
And to minorly tweak who I am is possible, but to change who I am ain't gonna work. It causes problems. I've tried to do it, and in the end, it caused more problems than just embracing who and what you are. So yeah, I'm pretty rough on myself. I am, known to be kind of humble, and I'll step outside of being humble at times, but publicly, it's important for people to know that I got my ass kicked, and it wasn't easy for me.
Yep.
And I rose to the top of motorsports at a super early age, and then I fell flat on my face and lost it all. And that changed me, to the humble side, which is a good side. I mean, I don't know how I would have turned out had I not had that humongous failure in 1982 and 83.
So I don't want to beat a dead horse. That story might have been told, but I don't think it's real popular. You're saying that you think throughout your life that was the turning point of when you were doing your deal, but you went to NASCAR, it didn't work, you came back, then you get the call from Jack Roush and Meal. But when you went back to NASCAR, that's when you said, you feel like that's when you changed a little bit, being a little more hardcore?
I changed. I still was pretty hardcore. I didn't have to work on my race cars anymore.
Yeah.
So I had great, smart people that could work on them.
But that moment of failure, that 2 years where, NASCAR, it didn't work for you in NASCAR. I think what I'm hearing is that you said that ain't going to happen again.
Yeah, well, I was careful. I wasn't careful the first time. I had a little ASA team with a little group of guys that did fabulous pit stops and everything else. And we went NASCAR racing in 81, and in our third race, we set on the pole and finished 11th. And in the fourth race, we ran. We qualified. We finished third. In the fourth race, or the fifth race, we ran. We set on the pole, and I started one lap down, last place, one lap down, because the car, David Allio forgot and left a rag in the carburetor and put the air cleaner on it so it wouldn't start. Long story short, we were banging wheels with Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty and all those guys. We were doing pit stops. We finished third at Martinsville doing pit stops against Junior Johnson and
with your own ASA team,
Bud Moore and everything. So I thought I was hot stuff.
Never thought about that. Well,
after that last race, that Martinsville, that Richmond race, we went home, and I was working in my uninsulated pole barn in North Liberty, Indiana.
I remember.
And the phone rings, and hello, Mark, it's Waddell Wilson. I'd like to know if you'd be interested in driving the 28 car.
Oh my, I never knew this.
Yeah, the 28 car that sat on the pole in Daytona in 1982, that I'd have been in that car. Of course, Benny Parsons was in it, and he got fired after 7 races. So who's to say I would have succeeded? I don't know that I was ready to drive better than Benny Parsons. Anyway, you know what I said?
Obviously, no.
No, Waddell. I'd rather do
Wow.
my own. I'd rather do my own deal.
Wow.
And because I would have had to fire David Lovendahl, Banjo Grimm, and I'd have had to get rid of prototype engines that was giving me free engines. And I just would have had to, it just didn't seem like anything. Besides, I thought I could beat them. I didn't run third, sat on 2 poles out of 5 races. I thought, man, I can take my little program. I don't need no sponsor. I'll win a race in the first 5, 6, 8, 10 races. And I'll be
Jed's a millionaire.
And I'll be NASCAR. So I did it.
You were ready.
I moved to Charlotte, built me a car, went to Daytona, run terrible, and blew up. And had to fire my crew chief on Sunday morning before the race. So I left Daytona broke, and we never ran as good the whole year. I ran the whole year, but I went broke. And at the end of the year, I had to have an auction and sell everything I owned in the shop.
This is painful.
To pay off Goodyear and Hutchison Pagan. And I paid them off, and I said, I'll never own a race team again.
Yeah. And
so I got the call in December, early January. Mark, is JD Stacy, you want to drive the 2 car? That's the 2 car that Tim Richmond won 2 races in 82. And I said, hell yeah. I had no idea that the team was going broke and that Dale Inman wouldn't be there anymore. And, it was underfunded instead of being the team that it was the year in 82.
He didn't tell you the details.
In 7 races. Well, hell, I was so confident in myself. He said, well, get your lawyer, do up a contract. I said, I don't need no contract. I don't need no contract. We'll just do this deal. So we ran 7 races and I got fired. Said they wanted somebody with more experience. And we'd run 7th and 3rd, we ran good, but not good enough. And so after getting fired, nobody in NASCAR would touch me.
So that's a cautionary tale.
So I had to move back to Wisconsin. First guy I called was Ray Dillon, because free cars is what I used to get.
I'm back.
He said, Mark, days of free cars are over. I had no money. I had no tool. I had nothing. And so it was hell getting a program going for 1984. And we managed to win 1 ASA race and some Art Go races. And the next year I got to go drive for Jerry Gunderman with Miller High Life as sponsorship and Jimmy Finning as a crew chief. And we won, 4 races, but we blew too many motors because it was we had Ron Neal prototype doing Ford motors, and he didn't have it perfected yet. And so then in 86, we won 5 races in the championship. And at the end of the year, I got a call to go bush racing for more money than I was making in ASA winning the championship. And Jimmy Finning had the opportunity to go be Bobby Allison's crew chief in NASCAR. And Jimmy said, I ain't going if you're staying. And I said, well, then we're both going, because I could not bear the thought of Jimmy Finning not taking, the NASCAR opportunity. So when Jack, so we won 3 bush races in 87. After the second win, our third win, Jack, calls. And I didn't really have any plans on going NASCAR racing again, but the deal seemed right. I went and met with Jack, and I didn't ask him what he was going to pay. I asked him how many tires he's going to buy, who he's going to hire, what kind of cars he's going to use, and could we test enough. And he said, we're doing all that. And we stood up and shook hands. And I found out later that what I was getting paid, and it wasn't much, but it didn't matter. I wanted another chance. And Jack Roush was the only person willing to give me a chance, give me a second chance. And for that reason and others, I stayed with him for 19 years.
Mark, let me tell you, I've read books before, and I learned what the word cautionary tale means. It means listen to this story. Caution. Because, you know, Rusty, my big brother, taught me this saying, and I share it on social media every once in a while. And it goes like this. It's sad to say, but you have to remind people every once in a while because they remember what they want to. And what you just told me was a cautionary tale that Mark Martin just didn't jump into NASCAR and kick their butt. You had a rough road. Now, when you got back there and you got settled, you became a Hall of Fame racer, but it's an incredible cautionary tale. You know, it wasn't a bed of roses. I really appreciate you telling me that story.
Well, that all comes back to, you know, the thing, cautionary tale, careful of being overconfident.
Yeah.
You know, and I had confidence. I had a damn reason to be confident.
That's why you're the way you are. You just told me.
Exactly. I've just told you why that explains, you know, the modesty.
You don't have euphoria. You're just.
I just, you know, dude, I took a beat down, and my story is not what happened after my first NASCAR win.
Right.
My story is what happened leading up to that. That's the real story, and that's what we're working on. Someday we will have a really kick butt book. We've been working on it already a year, and it may be another, you know, it may be another year or two before it's available, but it's, you know, it's going to detail a lot about what led up to, you know, my childhood and what shaped me into the person I was, and then how I got myself into a situation of being overconfident and not knowing, you know, I'd never been in the pits of a NASCAR race when I showed up for my first cup race. I'd never even been anything but in the grandstands. So I didn't know what I was getting into.
So I read, you know, I am a horse with blinders on when I need to be, but I do have peripheral vision. As you're going through this book that will come out whenever it comes out, that you're talking about right now, is this book therapeutic for you, or is there a lot of pain going through writing this book?
I've been able to suppress the pain. So you know, I'm at total comfort with all the hardship that I went through. I'm grateful for the failure because that made me the person I am today. And I don't like to think about what I might be like had I gone to the Daytona 500 in 1982 in the 28 car.
Yeah, right.
And won the Daytona 500. I shudder to think the man that I would be today. I'm grateful for my experiences. We had a lot of disappointment in NASCAR, especially in the 6-car and the Roush days. And I'm not bitter about that. I'm just damn thankful that I got to work.
You came out alive, buddy.
Yeah.
You came out alive.
You know, just, geez, think about
than bad.
Think about all the great people in motorsports I got to work with, and all the great things, and all the checkered flags, and all the good days. And a lot of people want to, you know, talk crap about that I didn't win a championship.
Oh,
you know,
those are meant to be, Mark. They're meant to be.
Or they call me Mr. Second Place. Well, I accidentally stumbled into 96 NASCAR wins and, you know, in the top 3 series. So I may be Mr. Second Place. I understand that. But I accidentally screwed up and won 96 of them. And, you know, when you think about, and that's getting away from being modest, but it's the truth, you
Oh, I
know,
like hearing this because I think everybody's like this.
I got a text the other day that said that in I believe it was 101 races or something like that, that I was either first or second.
Yeah.
Okay, so hell, I won 40. So I only ran, you know, like 61 times I run second. So I ran second more than I ran first. I'm sorry, apologize if that hurts your feelings, but I'm pretty damn happy about it. You know, it means I ran good.
Those people that talk like that, they're not happy with themselves, so they want to lash out, you know. And what I always say to those people, first of all, is go F yourself. I do. Charlie won't let me cuss on these shows, but I say it just hardcore. Look, go and what's your end game here, bud? You doing this to make yourself feel better?